Hi guys, it's Kelly here, and today we are going to be working with Susie's birthday notes watercolor paintables from Simon Says Stamps. That's a mouthful, but they're totally adorable and I love them. So I picked one because I'm going to do a series. So this is the first video, and you hear me all the time talk about making something your own. And I think a lot of times it gives the impression that it has to be something that's over the top, and it doesn't. So we're going to start with just basic coloring. That's what this video is going to be. You can make it your own by adding just some doodling, just with Copic safe markers or pens, whatever you have. I prefer the EK Success writing pen or journaling pen, but you can use the Copic multiliners if you have them. Anything that's Copic safe if you're using Copics, or if you're going to do watercolors, then use something that's going to be archival. I'm using Copics, so this is what I'm using. Here, basically, I'm just doodling. They don't have to be perfect. These are hand-drawn. That's one of the reasons why I chose them. Also, so I didn't have to worry about a layout. But I'm just adding my own designs, and I'm picking stuff that's already in the designs in the background. So really simple things. Stripes, polka dots, just some wavy lines. If you're not comfortable freehanding this, by all means, get out a ruler. I didn't feel like it needed to be perfect. Here I'm kind of like replicating the loops that you see in some of the flowers. I'm not being terribly specific, and I'm repeating some of them. Here I'm going to do straight stripes instead of diagonal. This is just something to make it yours. So yours looks different than everybody else's. Here I'm going to do polka dots, and to get perfect polka dots, anything, whether you're using a white gel pen or drawing them by hand, draw one line of them, and then the line underneath, put your polka dot in between the polka dots that are above them. And then they'll always be centered. Like it'll always make sense. It'll look like a fluid design. For this one, I just mixed up my diagonal stripes with some wavy lines. Nothing, terribly interesting. And then we're going to move on to the Copic coloring. And I told you this is very basic Copic coloring. I think a lot of people watch my videos and think, and I get the comments all the time, and it just breaks my heart because everyone's like, well, I can't color like you, or mine won't look like yours. Yours shouldn't look like mine. Yours should look like yours, because yours is going to be beautiful either way. So each time I'm going to show you the color combinations that I am going to use ultimately at the end, because this is the first part of a 3-part series. But I'm only using my lightest color. So I'm going to show you the whole thing in case for the rest of the week you would like to color along. You can see kind of what I'm using. But I'm only using my lightest color. We're doing one layer, no shading. This is it. And at the end, you're going to see that even though it's not anything that we did a ton of shading on or anything, it's still a very beautiful image. And you can do this. You don't have to use the pre-made card fronts like these are. I just prefer them because when I'm in the mood to color, I don't want to have to worry about a layout. And they've already done all the hard work for me because Susie's drawn all these adorable images. But so basically when I'm laying down my colors, I'm working in threes. 3 is more appealing to the eye. If you do even numbers, your mind wants to pair them off together. So you try to work in odd numbers. So some of them ended up being 3s and some of them ended up being 5s just because I needed to fill in. But really, I'm not doing anything but coloring. I don't know if you've said it yourself or you've heard other people say it, like, well, when I color something, it looks like I just did it with my kids' Crayola markers. Yeah, and like, that's fine. It's fine. It's more than fine. These images can still be pretty soft. They don't have to be these bright, bold colors that I always use. That's just my preference. Speaking of my preference, I was talking to a friend this week, and she's trying to grow her Copic collection. So we were on the phone, and we were going over what she had versus what she needed to buy. And she said, when she was shopping for Copic markers, she just went on a well-known Copics artist website and looked at her preferred list and bought what she recommended. Never once paying attention to the fact of whether or not she liked those colors. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't go off recommendations. When I built my collection, the very first Copics that I bought, I went off Jennifer McGuire's recommendations. The reason I did is because Jennifer likes bright colors and so do I. So I knew that I had liked the colors that she was using in her videos and that I was going to be happy at least to start off with that collection. And then I grew it from there. Make sure if you're going to use somebody's recommendations that you like the colors that they use, not just, oh, they're an amazing colorist and I really like the images that they do or the techniques that they use, so I'm going to buy what she recommends. Just because somebody isn't quote unquote expert or Copic professional doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to love the color combinations that they use. Buy something that you love. So from there, after we had gone through, what she had said something about, oh my gosh, I'm just going to have to buy one of these sets. People ask me a lot in the YouTube comments whether or not they should buy a Copic set. Should I just buy the 72 Copic set? No, don't do it. Don't do it. And the reason is because those sets are not created by blended families. Those sets are going to give you one marker from the YG family. They're going to give you one marker from the R family. That's not going to get you good blending. Okay? Don't buy that way. If you want blending, buy that way. If you just want to own a bunch of Copics that aren't going to work together, then that's fine. If you just want to do basic coloring like we're doing in today's video, then buying those sets is perfectly acceptable. Or if you want to spend $1 bajillion and buy every single set that they have offered, then that's fine. You'll eventually end up with all the Copics and then you'll have stuff that works together. If you want to start off with a small collection that is not going to cost you your firstborn child and will still blend together, you need to be buying in color families. I always recommend a light, a medium, and a dark in the color families. I don't have a list myself. I don't want to lead anybody astray because they're my preferences. But that's what I would recommend. So if you love a VO4, okay, I happen to be coloring the V's. If you love a VO4, then my recommendation would be to buy a color lighter than that, like a VO1, and a color darker than that, like a VO9. And don't be afraid that they're so far away from each other, because like the yellows, if you buy a Y00, a Y02, and a Y04, they will blend together because they're basically the same color. They're not. The Ys are so close to each other. It's really, really hard to get any kind of depth unless you jump really dark. Like for my Ys, my darkest color in this card is going to be a Y26. Pause 1 second. So here what I'm showing you is that while I was working in threes, I missed that one of my flowers was next to one of my uncolored letters. That would create a situation where I had pink on pink. And while I do absolutely love the Steel Magnolias movie, I do not want my colors to be blush and bashful. So what I did was I used a color remover on one of the ones that I had colored red, and then I'm going to go over it with the pink and you won't be able to tell the difference, and then I'll end up coloring that flower next to my pink Y red. So I was able to kind of save it because I hadn't done a ton of shading. If I had already done the shading, I would have had to just suck it up, Sally. There wouldn't have been any way to change it. So anyway, this is my last color, and everything's basically filled in. I did go back in for the stuff that was left over, like the little berries and things like that, the little lines, just filled in randomly with the colors I already had used. But that's basically where we're going to leave the card for right now. And I think that it's pretty. I think that it's good just the way that it is. So if this is the way that you make it your own and you're happy, then just leave it like this. It's good. So for tomorrow, I will be doing the video where we introduce the shading. So I hope you will come back for that, and thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.